up, guys? My running kid coming back to you again. This goes out to all my Avengers fans out there of this great show. Yes, indeed. Episode 32 of Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, entitled Michael Korvac. This episode is kind of special. Again, another episode from a great comic series dedicated to another individual. The episode was dedicated to in memory of Boyd Kirkland. He passed away. He's done a lot of work from Batman the Animated Series. You've seen his name all over X-Men Evolution, you name it. And he did this episode. He had this episode as well. Directed this episode. This episode was really good because, first of all, we got to see the Guardians of the Galaxy. For all those people out there that don't know who these characters are, you got to see them. So these are some of the characters right there. Those are some of the characters, people, that we're going to see brought to the big screen. Marvel has announced they are going to do a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And those are some of the people. You saw the likes of Star-Lord, Adam Warlock, Groot, Rocket Raccoon, and Quasar. They used the female Quasar, not the male Quasar, which was kind of interesting. But this episode really was pretty much, the concept of it was mistaking identity, basically. And all of it, basically, the episode pretty much started with something falling out of the sky. A man, he feels a crater in Central Park, and he's talking about help me, they're coming after me, help me. And he points to a police officer says, what, who's coming after you? And he points to the sky. Meanwhile, in the Avengers mansion, we see Janet talking to Ms. Marvel about, what went on between her and Hank. And that's when she's introduced to Michael, and that's when he starts to envision Janet as his girlfriend Corina, and she wants to help. She feels it's her duty to help, maybe because of the fact of what happened between her and Hank. So she felt that way. The other Avengers come. Hulk, Iron Man, Black Panther, and Hawkeye help, and do some tests on him to see what's going on. And while even during that time, basically, Janet goes off to find Karina. Hawkeye and T'Challa go off to basically examine the crater that he fell in, and basically it's Jane Foster there with him, with Tony and Hulk. And it was really funny because Tony was like, his readings are off the chain. And then the Hulk, he's like, I don't even know why I'm talking to you. And then Hulk says something. It's quantum. I forgot what Hulk said. He said it, but he said something technical, and he was like, yeah, okay. And that was the same thing Panther said. Hawkeye's not really believing it, but we really get to see, and then later on we get to see the Guardians come, and there's a battle that basically deters between the Avengers and the Guardians, and the Avengers basically attempt to protect Michael Korvac, basically thinking that he's the victim, while the team fights off the Guardians. We have Iron Man going against Quasar. We got Adam Warlock going against Black Panther. The Hulk going against Rocket Raccoon and Groot. And Hawkeye going against Star-Lord. And Janet protecting Michael Korvac and his girlfriend Cora. And basically, it's up to, we find out later on that Michael is not all he seems to be, because they do a backstory, and finally, after a while, when we get to know a little bit more, once the fighting stops and everybody's inside Adam Warlock's soul gem. They tell the story of Michael Korvac. Now they changed Michael Korvac's origin a lot in this series, but it was still cool. His origin pretty much reminded me of a little bit of Ms. Marvel, actually. Her real comic origin. You know, he was experimented on by the Kree and things like that. So that was really interesting. That was a really interesting take of how they did that. But it was still fun. You know, it was still good. You know, Ms. Marvel did get there, and there was a battle between her and Michael Korvac, because Michael Korvac found, you know, he figured that she was a Kree. You know, she's part of the Kree. You know, I guess he sensed it, and there's a battle between them. And meanwhile, inside the Soul Gem, the Guardians are still explaining themselves, what they are, who they are, and things like that. And it was really funny, you know, Rocket Raccoon, he had that really strong British Cockney accent, so it was really cool to hear him talking. That was really funny, you know. He was like, Mr. Attitude here is Rocket Raccoon, the big guy here is Groot. I'm Groot, you know. That's pretty much all Groot says. He just says his name, Quasar, and he said he called himself Star Lord. And Tony was like, so you're like a Guardians of the Galaxy, like space Avengers. So it was kind of funny, but it was all good, guys. It was so good to see them bring the Guardians of the Galaxy, especially for people who don't know who these characters are. You know, I know them, but I know there are a lot of people out there that are just being introduced to these characters, and this is a good way to being introduced to them. And because A, now you're aware of these characters. B, there's a movie coming out soon about these characters, so you're going to be aware of it. Um, when they come back to reality to stop Michael, they realize that, you know, it's Michael's way too strong, even for all of them, which is really interesting. But it was the fear of Cora, his girlfriend, that basically stopped him from doing wrong. Like he left the earth because of that, just because of what she said. You know, you're scaring me, Michael, and that put fear into him. You know, it was like, wow, and that was a pretty decent way to end it. The series, end the episode. I thought it was really good. Instead of, the heroes just huzzah going out and stopping the bad guy, it was more of, just the fear of a loved one that had him stop, and that made a little bit more sense. Um, but it was still a good episode. Michael Korvac, another character we got to know. But like I said before, this episode was dedicated to Kirkland. My heart goes out to the Kirkland family, with all that. I know what it's like to lose someone very close. I know he had kids and everything like that. So my heart goes out to the Kirkland family. May he rest in peace, as always. Um, but it was still fun. It was a good episode, and he directed it. Kirkland directed the episode, and he did a good job directing this episode. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I was waiting for this episode to see the Guardians of the Galaxy, and it did not disappoint me at all. Um, Maybe a little bit. I mean, for example, Iron Man taking down Quasar was a little bit like, huh? No way. Not Iron Man ain't that strong. But that's just the geek in me, guys. But other than that, it was still a good episode. The next episode is in episode 33 is entitled "Who Do You Trust?" And pretty much this is where Nick Fury finally comes back and reveals that the Skrulls are among them as well. So that's going to be really good, and I can't wait to see that, because I think this is where the Avengers kind of get torn apart between who can they trust and things like that. But other than that, episode 32, Michael Korvac, very good episode, guys. I'd love to hear what you guys thought about this. For all those guys out there who didn't know who the Guardians of the Galaxy are, I want to hear from you guys. What did you think of the Guardians? You know, there you go. There are some of the Guardians right there. That's not all of them, but those are some of them right there. You got to see, and those are some of them that are going to be in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And I'm not joking about that. There is a Guardians of the Galaxy movie coming out for Marvel Studios. But other than that, you guys tell me what you thought about this episode, Michael Korvac. And other than that, this is Mount Vernon Kid saying peace, one loves, as always. I hope you guys enjoy this. And once again, rest in peace, Mr. Kirkland. You did a very good job. Y'all guys take care.